All right, this is Donut Plains take 2.
Nickel? It's your boy. 'Cause I just want to be free. Ba-da-da-ba. Free. Ba-da-da. Free. And I just got to be me. Ba-da-da-da. Me. Ba-da-da-ba. Me. And I just got to be free. 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 And I just got to be me. Me. Oh shit. That shit was frightening. Alright, let's get to the episode.
At Manscaped, our go-to men's below-the-waist grooming products. Manscaped new products alert, because we have some new thing. It's called the Ultra Smooth Package. And, everyone needs to make sure, the bottom, the below-the-waist is always ultra smooth. So, something with the Ultra Smooth, crop shape, the crop exfoliator, and the crop gel. It's time to crop that bush of yours. Because, when we're growing up, and we're still aging, it's always going to be bushy down there.
It's like a lion's mane,
Yeah, it's a lion's mane. A Puma's 345, that's pretty much what it is. Maybe it's red, black, who knows. But, we got to get right to the real discount code just for you. Remember, 20% off, free shipping at manscaped.com with the code TKO. So the Ultra Smooth Package, it's a 3-by-step process, right? The first one you gotta use is the crop exfoliator. That's gonna help make sure it's smooth and clear and keep the skin around, you know what I mean? Then we gotta place the crop gel, right? Because it comes down to it, you gotta make sure you put something to protect yourself with. And then we call it the crop shaver, and the slogan of the line, it's time to shave. It was designed for shaving the groin area with confidence. That's the most important part, right? We gotta make sure our self-esteem is good, and Manscaped got us with that. So other than that, make sure you get 20% off.
You're Justin really good at this shit.
At manscaped.com. That's 20% off, free shipping with the code TKO at manscaped.com. Let's move it out, fellas. With Manscaped, your balls will thank you. So what's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of Triple CKO. Who knows? But we are here with myself, Maximilian, and Matt McMuscles. And how are you guys doing?
I'm doing all right, but Matt's a little bit under the weather, unfortunately.
Yeah, I must have pissed off some sort of deity. For the past month or so, me and my family have been going through absolute hell. Everybody, I've been sick as hell. I'm pretty good enough today to talk a bit. At least I wanted to keep the podcast going as smoothly as it possibly could. But my apologies if I'm not talking a ton, or if I sound a little weird. I've been going through some extra dank over the past few weeks.
It's those deities of Asura's wrath. They're fighting you back.
Yeah.
So it's always that one
guy.
It's always that one time when when you get sick or something bad happens, it just keeps coming in tangents, right? It's a combo, right? Non-stop.
So that everything is going to be a fighting game euphemism for my body is getting ravaged.
Yeah, it's getting rushed down by all these.
Yeah, but so unfortunately you are sick, and well, at least when you are sick, what you can do is watch tournaments. And this is what we're going to be talking about for today's topic, are just, I guess, tournaments in general, tournaments in history. Should people go to tournaments? What to expect at tournaments? And just kind of just tournament culture regardless, right? I would say, what are some of the tournaments that you guys have been to before?
Well, my section is very short, so before Max gets into his, but I once or twice I went to a local thing here in Montreal, very small scale, and not much success. Just in general. One thing about me is that I know where my skill ceiling is, and it's always been at the same place. So, actually participating, not so much, but I did. Eventually, I was just like, I have to go to Evo at least once or twice, like before I die, right? So, because you just read about it and hear about it all the time online and stuff about like how Evo is like so, unique on this scale and in Vegas and stuff. So I eventually did. A couple of years ago, starting trying to forget when, like 2016, 2017, maybe 2018 as well. Experienced a little panel by some group, Yo Video Games. It was okay. It was actually really hype. It was actually like one of the most fun panels I've been to. But and I've talked about it in an episode before, but just going to the Evo finals in the big arena and seeing like the shit on the main screen and experiencing that that's kind of like it in a nutshell for me. But
was it in Mandalay Bay for you, Matt?
Yeah, I think the last year I went, it was in Mandalay Bay.
Okay, just making sure, because it's like Evo has been spread around so many different parts of like Vegas over the years, so I'm like, that's how I think of it. I'm like, wait, this year we were down at like the LVH, and this other year we were someplace else.
The Mandalay Bay arc, basically, type stuff.
Yeah, we've been on a good streak from Mandalay Bay, so I think they just have a good deal over there. But I would say, Evo is definitely like a big tournament for anyone to want to go to. Even before it got so big in Vegas, it even started like just a random small arcade. Like the first one I went to was before it was even called Evo. It was called B5, like Battle to the Bay series. And that was in Folsom, California. Folsom. It was at some kind of like mom and pop's arcade.
I think we say in the bathroom.
I mean, they had tournaments in the bathroom before. Just saying, Melty Club. What can I say? But yeah, I would say it's crazy how how much things have evolved from like going this like really small tournament, or maybe from somebody's like garage, into like big scale tournaments in like Las Vegas. It's kind of nice to see where gaming has come from. But in general, I would say I've been playing for over like 21 years, and the first tournament I've been to was actually a major. I went to my arcade at like 10 a.m. because I wanted to play some video games at 10 a.m. and there was like 50 people waiting outside at the arcade, and then I'm like, whoa, why is there so many people here? They said, we're going to New Jersey for a tournament, and
sitting in one car.
Yeah. Well, yeah, pretty much some people took cars and some people took trains, so we just took the New Jersey Transit to get there. It was called 8 on the Brink. The arcade still exists up to this day, and they still have tournaments, I think, for the most part as well, too, like kind of smaller ones. And then it was called East Coast Championship 5. And I got 5th place in Mars Capcom 1 and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. And after that, it just got me so hooked on and so addicted to just wanting to keep going to tournaments and playing this different competition like around America. So I would say that's kind of like what made me want to go out to more tournaments.
Cool. What about you, Matt?
Echo sort of a similar story. Like the big tournaments that I've gone to, especially over the past 10 years, has definitely been Evo. Evo is always like a constant focus. I still haven't had a chance to even go to something like Combo Breaker, unfortunately, but was there when it was called Ultimate Fighting Game Tournament, and it was run by Art Keats, and this was when him and Breaker sort of working together. That's the last one I went to, but I specifically was there at that time frame because it sort of coincided with the fact that a couple blocks away, Galaxy was there. I was literally working on KI and KI trailers, like leading up to the tournament dates, and then I would go to the tournament to commentate KI. That's been a lot of my tournament experience over the past 10 years, especially is because I'd have so many responsibilities at each tournament that I had to eventually just stop playing because I would get so disappointed with myself when I wouldn't do good because I have all these other things that I have to do, and I had to have chance to practice. Busy 2 weeks making enough content for the YouTube channel, and I was like, so whatever games I signed up for. But for me, it actually goes all the way back to technically 1995 And in 1995 is the first. I didn't even realize it, but I was
Fuck!
a weekly local at a rec room in where I grew up, and it was a Killer Instinct. And believe it or not, like I'm trying not to like overthink how many people it was, but it'd be arguably 20 to 30 kids to teenagers that would be playing KI because KI was so big. So they would have a Super Nintendo, and then people would rent out every single Super Nintendo, and KI would be in every single one, and then people would just be playing. I don't think it had a really good structure. It was more like arcade style, but everyone showed up to the same spot at the same time, right, and just like jammed on each other. And I was like the king of KI for 2 straight months. I like never lost.
What the fuck?
And eventually,
What the fuck?
the people around
What did I get hit by?
better because I was the bad guy. You have to realize that if you're in a tournament, yes, if you're in a tournament situation and you like can't be beat, you are the enemy of the people. So everyone almost wants to see you lose, type of thing. So I got to experience that like sort of firsthand, right? That people popped off so hard on me when I eventually started losing. Man, it was brutal. But outside of that, yeah, I think, and I was like maybe 10 or 11 years old. But when I was like 13-ish, Tekken 3 came out, and I went to a couple tournaments for Tekken 3 that were at like game stores and stuff like that. And I never did really well, but I always got, because these guys were like in their 20s, they were ancient creatures from the dark times, right? That still were standing on their husks of bodies, these 20-year-olds. And they would all compliment me, and so I was like, wow, this kid's really good. Like, wow, it's crazy to see this kid's really good. I always appreciated that sort of, like admiration that you would get from people that were a bit older that like recognized like, hey, this kid's really good at this stuff. So
Yeah, like more supportive.
exactly. And it wasn't just like I beat this kid's ass, you know. And so I appreciated that. That actually is one of the things that encouraged me to continually get better at like an arcade stick with Marvel vs. Capcom 1. And I didn't really go to many tournaments for Marvel 1, but there was definitely a very like. But when you're at the arcades, it's a very tournament-like situation because you want to stay on that machine and it's costing you money, right? Mm. You're costing other people money to continually play. So I wanted to get better at that, right? So a lot of my quote-unquote tournament experience to start off actually began when I was like 10. Killer Instinct on Super Nintendo, believe it or not.
Yeah, I was gonna ask was it arcade or Super Nintendo because I thought in the back of my head I was like, I bet it was the Super Nintendo version for some reason. That's crazy. That's weird.
No, but yeah, I would say that's like such a cool thing with like the fact that you have 10-year-olds popping off.
Yeah, I was definitely one of the younger ones. But once again, it was definitely that situation. It was like I said, it was a lot of teenagers. So like 15 to 16-year-olds that were that were like popping off quite a bit. And I was this like 10 to 11-year-old, you know. It was Killer Instinct was the coolest thing in the world, you know. Can't help it.
Like legally, you isn't allowed to play Killer Instinct. So criminal over here going against all the rules, playing. Because I think the Super Nintendo is rated teen, but the arcade version is.
Yeah, it's weird. Like they've all been in a weird variety of teen to M ratings. Like Killer Instinct when it came out recently was teen, but then the definitive edition was M. It's very weird.
Yeah.
And if it's like M, it's like why couldn't they just have made Mira's blood red? Shit. Anyway.
No, but I would say just in general. So I think what we all have in common here is that we all went to Evo.
Fuck, man. It's not bad. Okay. That's just kind of tasty, you know. Okay. Okay.
Right, and for a lot of people that loves fighting games and always wanted to attend to a tournament, should you guys go to Evo? And then I would say, in my opinion, at least now, there's so much to do at Evo now. It's not even just a fighting game tournament anymore; it's a fighting game convention. So obviously you have your tournaments, you can hit and watch all the matches going on with all these different games. There's a community area where you can bring up, you can run tournaments or just like BYOC, bring your own casuals. And then there's also the vendors. So much vendors with like Gaming Generation, Bait, and all these other brands. They're trying to sell like Evo exclusive products, right? And also just like cool stuff in general, where people just love to buy stuff at a convention. And then also the panels, right? So many different panels. I think it's like 2 days worth of panels.
And also like new games, like new in development games will show up there. I remember when the last time I went, and I just see Max, and Max is like goes by me, and he's like, "Sorry, I gotta go over here," and he's playing like God, I think it was Dragon Ball Z had like a setup or something.
Yeah.
It was either Dragon Ball Z or something else, and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you go." And I think you're playing with Xavier Woods.
I was talking with Xavier, yeah.
That's what it was. And like that's the really like for me specifically that's like super fun stuff just to see like new games that are all fighting games or like fighting game adjacent. Sometimes you'll see in the indie area there's like beat 'em ups or some action games sometimes. But it was just really exciting to see that it's like the first time I go, it's blossomed into like a whole convention because it makes sense. The first time I went to like an actual WrestleMania, they're like, all these people are here for this big event. That's just to see the event, but there's all these people that are willing to do other stuff. So on WrestleCon the same weekend, so there's all these other wrestling promotions, smaller ones, and there's like convention space and there's panels, and it makes complete sense. And I'm like super glad that exists in Evo like nowadays. Like I'm not sure, do other tournaments like because I don't know, do other tournaments like CEO or Combo Breaker have that same sort of vibe where there's like other things you can do?
That's what I was gonna ask. Is like, Justin, according to your recollect, I'd say I call it the con arc, right? When tournaments, at one point, not at one point, over a gradual period of time, started becoming conventions, right? Where they weren't just fighting in tournaments anymore. And it's just like, wow, this just makes sense. Like, it's funny that there's all this stuff now for essentially people that aren't in tournament or might have like had very little time dealing with the tournament part of it, and now they get to do all this other stuff. That was the thing that always made Evo appealing, because once the tournament part is over, what's left? Vegas. You have all the casinos, you have the entirety of Las Vegas at your fingertips, right? So I'm trying to think back. I'm going back to like when I was going to CEO like 2014 or maybe 2015. And even at that point, it wasn't full like con up yet, There's still like a little bit. There was still some vendors. There were still some people doing some things outside of just hosting tournament stuff. Well, where was the moment for you, Justin, where you might have like seen that like, oh yeah, tournaments are turning into conventions, and this is now like, because I think maybe it was Combo Breaker for me where I really started to see it like switch over, even though I didn't know that.
So I would say Evo definitely showcases most when it comes down to a convention. I would say
What the
Comicbreaker
fuck?
is at a point where they can be considered a big convention, but the one thing it's like that makes it different. I would compare Evo as like it's the E3, right? While Comicbreaker is more of like a place where there's vendors there, there's tournaments, but it's also meant for the community because it's 24 hours. So people are just playing fighting games for 24 hours. In the same venue the whole time, and then there's in the alley with the artist alley and vendors that's only open during the day, and obviously the tournament's happening during the day. But there's also so much stuff for like people that are not in tournaments anymore to do, like auction tournaments, right? Where they have Killer Instinct auction tournaments or Marvel Attack and 3 auction tournaments. And even just random side games that are just there, and they're running a tournament for them. So it's just at that point where I would say Comicbreaker is definitely part of the whole con art, and CEO is definitely is more of an entertainment con art because Jabali always try to it's in wrestling, right? Wrestling is in the element where it ties in with the CEO with AEW that of 2019. So that one's like more just like the entertainment, like flexing and like con art right there for sure.
Because I really want to go to CEO eventually in the future. Like I'm not like super interested in going to cons like this year. Just like I want to give it a bit more time and stuff. But
Yeah.
Comicbreaker's happening like as of the time of this recording, it's happening like now-ish. And what's cool about being in Chicago, I've already seen our good friend Ketchup like finally gets to go to Galloping Ghost. So even something in Chicago, like outside the con space, like there's this stuff to do. There's places to go, and I would always recommend like go there for the Galloping Ghost. We talked about it a bit before, but like for Vegas, I don't know about you guys, but like outside of Evo, I can't do Vegas anymore. It's just too much. There's everything in there, and I can still smell the casinos, like that smell that they have.
Cigarette smell.
It's all cigarette smell, but when I think of that smell, I also think of like Max, oddly enough. So we always wind up having dinner or whatever, but let's say like if people do decide to go to Evo one time, it's like you have to be prepared for the huge markup on everything. You have to be close to Uber and taxi drivers taking you for a fucking ride. Like, overcharged so much to go to anywhere and stuff. And it's like, what? You can just stay at your hotel. You can just go to the convention space. You can buy a Odie body pillow, some Zonk Knuckle if they show up to offer those again. You can see a cosplayer or two. There's the cosplayer from Japan, Non-Summer Jack, who showed up at Evo to do like a little booth signing thing, and I'm like, that's so cool. Like this is such a kind of cosplayer celebrity, and they're coming all the way to Evo just there because there's going to be some of my fan base is going to be here, so why not? And you're already in Vegas, but you have to be careful about how much money you have to plug it properly for Evo, like because the first time I went, I was just like, okay, yeah, and then like I look at like I'm like go home, I look at my finance, I'm like no, that was rough.
Like I like a personal Evo hack that me and Jessica would use every once in a while. It was at Mandalay, right? Because it looks like Mandalay is going to be the near future of Evo, and then going forward, and they sort of established that Luxor / Mandalay area is sort of where Evo's going to be. And there's a tram that you can take that goes from that area, like the Luxor-ish area, to the Strip a bit more, right? And then, like, I think it outputs you right close to the Strip where like the New York is. And me and JJ would take some opportunity just like one night when I don't have any responsibilities or something like that, just to go away from Evo and just start walking up the Strip, but not outside, right? Because the cool part about that spot is that you don't have to walk like the streets. You can literally walk up like half of the Strip through hotels only,
Yeah.
And it's a really fun, enjoyable like walk. Like either finding some place to eat or like some drinks that might be available through there, or just perusing each and every casino and finding out which one is smoking,
No!
which one is non-smoking. As you're going through them, it's actually really enjoyable. You have to walk back, obviously, but it's one of those things that like doesn't cost a lot of money. You get to peruse a whole bunch of what the part of the city has to offer, and you really enjoyed it. Like, I had an absolutely great time because for somebody like me, I'm doing so much talking and so much grading and so much of that throughout like an Evo tournament that it's all encompassing, and I just have to I need to get away. I have to get away.
Yeah.
I'm not I might seem like I'm a social person, but I'm not a social person. And I'm like trying my best to be that. So I'm like, I need to let's go this way for a little while.
So that's like Excalibur's connected to like New York, I think.
I think so,
They're
yeah.
across the street, and then that's connected to.
You cross a bridge and then you just cruise.
I did that exact same walk. Me and Leanna were like, okay, let's go get breakfast one morning while we're there during Evo, and we're like, okay, well, let's pick up some things like water and stuff, and just some stuff for our room. And we're like, oh, there's a Target like halfway, like I don't know, a 10-minute walk away from where we were, and then it's like we almost died during that walk
What?
because it was the middle of the day. It was like noon.
Oh, so it was like 130.
And it was outside away from the hotels. So we're just like, we're getting into the Target, like, on the floor. And like,
Yeah.
some water real
Yeah.
quick, because
Yeah.
as you know how it always happens in summer, if you go to, I've been to Vegas in January and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like totally fine
But
weather-wise.
August, July.
Yeah. Don't like the UFO.
I have a funny story that sort of connects to that because Evo 2012, I just read the Evo tournament stories now, and my stories revolve around tournaments, right? It might not be like, oh, I did so good at this, but we wanted to do a very special episode of Assistant because it was our first panel at Evo 2012. So there's a ton of people there, and we wanted to do like a weird, like our Twitch live events, like a weird live action sort of like collides with the panel's sort of video experience where it was like Assistant Vegas edition. So we filmed all of this stuff pre-Evo to make it seem like it's in Vegas, and then I'm like, all right, so when we're in Vegas, I'm gonna bring an editing rig. I brought all my computers and shit to like the actual like Vegas room where I would edit this stuff together. And I'm like, we will film Doom and Wesker making their way to Evo when we're actually there. And then we start realizing it's gonna be so goddamn hot because this guy's in like carbon fiber full suit, and then Doom is Doom, so he's always like hot behind the cloak, and I'm like, okay, so here's the thing. We get up at 7 a.m. where there's nobody around, and we essentially shoot Doom and Wesker running around the Vegas, because this is when it was at Caesars, I believe. It was at Caesars Palace. Was it at Caesars Palace?
Caesar's
Point
parking
Club,
lot.
yeah.
We were at Caesars. Yeah, it was at
10 was
Caesars.
Caesars, yeah.
And then them running through Caesar's Palace and running through the outside, and we had to film it at a very specific time of day when there was not that many people, and it was not blazing hot, but it was still 95 goddamn degrees, even in the morning. So we got that film to put together in like 4 hours, filmed and then did it, and then we went to the panel and showed it, and then they right as soon as the video ended.
Oh, that's awesome.
So goddamn hot. It was insane.
Yeah. So that's the other thing, like, people have to worry about for Evo. And, like, I mean, CO happens in Florida.
It's just as bad.
It's just, it's swampier, though.
It's just
like,
swampier, yeah.
Yeah, it's the swampier.
The CEOs like Evo in many ways, where like a lot of my opportunities to go to these tournaments, especially over those years, like the mid 2010s, I took and jumped at the opportunity because what's at CEO, it's in Orlando, Florida. So not skipping a jump, we were going to Universal and like Disney World and stuff like that, and that was great. I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. So that's like, you got to think of like when you're going to a tournament, what are like the caveats that sort of with it, and what are the benefits of like what's right there, what can you go to?
Especially if you're bringing like a significant other, or like even just a friend that just wants to come with you and stuff. When I mentioned WrestleMania before, and that was in Florida, and it really was just hanging around. like wrestlers and doing things. And yeah, we saw Orlando, and we're like, we have to go to the Terminator 2 ride before they close it. Because every few years they're about to close it to make way for like a fucking Harry Potter toilet or something. And we were like, we have to go. And I'm like, so glad I saw it, because like a year or two later they actually closed it for good. I was like, oh, I'm glad my eyes saw these things. so I mean, I've been to Chicago before, so like I know what's there. But are there any other like environments that you guys have been to, or maybe Justin, like specifically, where you're like, oh, that was a really good one that maybe people don't know about that much? Because we're talking about like kind of the big three, but
yeah, I feel like there's just so many tournaments in general. One I really do love going, and I unfortunately missed this year just because I can't travel to America at the moment, is Texas
Showdown. Yeah,
Texas Showdown is actually one of the longest running tournaments since like was even going to tournaments. And the best part is they really pay homage to like where they came from, meaning like they run a lot of modern games plus all of the old games they always run tournaments for, because there's a really huge community around that area in Texas that plays a lot of the old stuff. So they make sure to kind of like keep like kind of like the people from like the old guard and also people the new guard. So that's kind of what makes that tournament fun. I would say it's not like level, it's definitely more for like the hardcore scene where it's like, you know, just only a tournament. There's not much to do besides tournament. Obviously, go out and eat food. But for me, I just since I just love playing the board games, it's just a good tournament for me, for my demographic, to just be there just to play in those tournaments.
Cool. As you were just at the Canada Cup a few weeks ago too. How was that in general? I know how you did, but like, did you have fun? I'm assuming.
Canada Cup is usually kind of like a chill event where it's just like the tournament organizer just wants to get you drunk playing a tournament. Literally,
she's still running.
Yeah, exactly.
I know
he's
exactly
the one that's doing that. Yeah. Because the whole weekend, the whole 3 days, I just always had a drink in my hand while playing or on stream or whatever.
While playing.
Yeah.
It's like on the arcade stick, just gyrating and splashing everywhere.
No, I need those hats, like those little beer hats. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At the same time, that's an intimidation factor right there. One guy comes up and he's just like he's turning them away, and you're like, well, he's confident, isn't he?
So yeah, I would say there's those type of tournaments, but really there's a lot of these tournaments everywhere. There's like majors in Philadelphia, from Big E. There's East Coast Throwdown from New Jersey. There's just even now, I would say because of the pandemic, there's so many online tournaments as well too. People that just want to just stay home and not have to travel, right? Like we did it. ICFC is doing it with like Penal Media. There's even tournaments where there's always tournaments where I think around the world that comes down to the FGC.
Well, that's what I was going to mention for you, Justin, was that I think last year when we were at the peak of pandemic, right, and we were still in the unknowing of how all this stuff really works, you set yourself up with a challenge. And I think people forget, but you absolutely hate online tournaments. Like people are like used to it now because of like you're the content lord, right? So you have to start making content and stuff like that. But I remember you would never join. I remember us even trying to get you to get into our Ultimate Marvel 3 big Twitch tournament, and it's like this is online through Parsec, but Justin joined, and it's like I don't know, man.
I don't like playing fighting games in online tournaments with bad netcode tournament stuff. So if your tournament has bad netcode and like, or your game, or just in general just has bad netcode, I wouldn't join. Like Parsec, Marvel 3 is like playable, but still like very, very difficult, very hard. And I personally just didn't like playing on it. So that's why I didn't join that. But all the tournaments I did enter for, when I set my goal for 100 online tournaments, were mainly for tournaments that had great netcode, aka like Fightcade, or Guilty Gear Strive, for the most part. But in general, it's just kind of like, it was like, since that was the second year of the pandemic, first year, I didn't enter no tournament whatsoever from online, but everyone had online tournaments. But then I had a lot of people, especially just from like my community, really like, message me and say, we really do miss you entering tournaments. Is there any way would you change about entering tournaments for 2019 or like the following year? So that's kind of why I made that goal of trying to win 100 online tournaments in 1 year. And I mean, it was fun because one, it's just free content. Two, it's just like people want to watch me play. And three, I'm just home in my underwear playing some fighting games and drinking beers, being comfortable. So it's definitely nice that we were able to adapt, because offline tournaments was full FGC, right? Every week was some offline CPT, Capcom Pro Tour Major or Tekken World Tour Major from somewhere around the world. Then now we were able to adapt that to online, where even companies like Arc System Tour was mostly all held online, as well as just many other tournaments made by the community, even Evo as well too. And I think it brought a lot of people to fighting games and also wanting to actually go to offline tournaments. Because I think Common Breaker, for example, that's happening this when you watch the episode already passed a week before, it's their biggest tournament yet.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things because of that. It's also Combo Breaker, the first one that's been in 2+ years, because of the pandemic. They're actually standing strong and going for it. I hope, as if this thing, goes live, everyone is staying safe and not sick or anything like that, because there's always going to be the risk of that happening. But because it is like the first big one, like the first very large scale tournament event of that size, everybody's showing up, and Guilty Gear is arguably one of the biggest games there. I think it is going to go down as being one of the biggest, and it's like a perfect storm situation where there was a lot of people introduced to Guilty Gear because it was the perfect fighting game for the pandemic at the time, and now people actually hopefully get to show that skill in a live setting where the situation will be very different, because offline Guilty Gear, even though World Black Code is amazing, it is still not the same as offline. Your reaction time is up by 2 to 4 frames, so it's a big difference.
And just like the atmosphere of being at a live event, I would say affects people.
That's a great point, is that a lot of people are used to being in their comfort zone when it comes to fighting games, and being in the comfort zone is like you with your own stick around your own friends and your own situation with your own camaraderie, right? But the people, and Justin can absolutely back this up, the people that are really good are the ones that are able to play under the most volatile of circumstances and still perform. Are you using your arcade stick? Are you playing on an arcade machine that you're used to? You had to adapt to all these weird things and people heckling you and all this crazy shit. So that's a big part of it, if you can hold yourself strong, even when all that crazy shit is happening.
Yeah, there was 2 instances, for example, way back in the day, before there was proper seating. People would just literally huddle up, looking below your shoulder.
Yeah,
you can feel their breath. You can hear it, lady, or
right next to you, next to your ear. You're like, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, you can literally just feel everything, because it's the heat. All the body heat, and you're just sitting there playing in the tournament set. Stuff like that is kind of crazy, because obviously now it's more mandated and it's a lot order. There's a lot of space between the players now. But recently I was just reading up on just kind of the comments and everything, and pretty much for Guilty Gear Strive at Texas Showdown, one player just couldn't perform at all, and just pretty much choked throughout the whole entire tournament, because of the crowd just being so loud and heckling. And it's because probably that person was started playing fighting games
so their comfort zone,
right? Playing at home with the underwear, no loud noises, so much space, and they just couldn't handle it. So that's definitely gonna be a very big problem that a lot of people will still have and will have in the future, especially if you're coming from an online era and learning how to play fighting games and wanting to go to these events.
Yeah.
Related but unrelated, something like that kind of happened to me, where it's I spent the last 2 years watching every movie, experiencing every game in my home, right? And if I'm watching something I'm not really liking or whatever, it's I can take my phone out, I can do whatever. It's in my house. And for 2 years did not go to a single movie theater. then when we went to go see a movie, it was unfortunately Venom 2, which I hated.
Movie sucked, man.
I love you, Max. Good. And I hated it so much, but I couldn't look at my phone. You know, I'm in a theater, whatever, and I didn't have anything to distract me, and I just started getting anxiety attack. Like, I was stuck. Well, I'm not like trying to like
stuck with this horse shit.
Yeah, I'm not trying to like make it on Venom 2. Like, even if it was a movie I was really, really liking, or a thing, I mean, media, and let's say there was just a part I didn't like, or something. I still had no outlet. Like, I can't do anything. I'm basically like, I have to be here for the rest of the movie. And I did walk out for a second and come back in. Like, I went to the bathroom, whatever. But it was still weird. It was like, that's never happened to me before. And then when I went to go see, like, Spider-Man, I love that movie so much. So in theaters, so that was fine. But when you're, like, I can understand, like, a tournament player who's, like, maybe been playing for, like, the last year and a half, like, in their home and then going to, like, an offline event and having that sort of reaction. So that's interesting.
So here's a big one, especially when old arcade tournaments, and once again, Justin can probably echo this, is that you'd be going to your arcade, right? Or you're used to your sticks in your machine. And then you'd have to, and a lot of these old machines were not these Japanese like Sanwa sticks and stuff like that. They were these big ass bat top classic SF2 type things. Even on Marvel 2, they literally had concave buttons where people were just like breaking calluses on their hands, mashing Storm Super and shit.
Yep, I got that.
So when you went to another arcade to compete and there was a tournament, you had no idea what that machinery was going to be like, right? So you'd go and you'd be expected to do well. And then you realize, like, oh god, suddenly this bat stick is a super tight one. Like, you flick it, and it pops back. You're like, okay, so there's no looseness to this shit at all. Getting used to that kind of stuff, right? Like, the really gritty arcade nature of how it was in the 90s and the early 2000s is a huge part of your adaptability. And how you can adapt to your situation and be like, okay, what do I do? Because this is now not what I'm used to. How do I adapt to this,
Yeah, arcade tournaments were very brutal just because... there's so many things, like you said, sticks feels different, machine breaking down. And speaking of machine breaking down, there was a Mars Crackum 2 tournament that I entered in the year 2001, right? At the break, 8 on the break. And this is when, like, Ricky Ortiz came down to play, and so many people around America came down to play at this tournament for the game. What you know about Mars Crackum 2 started on Sunday at 10 a.m., right? And it was a 500-man tournament, 4 arcade machines. And that tournament ended Monday 11 a.m.
Well, I thought you were going to say that tournament's still...
No, might as well be. But Monday 11 a.m., I was sleeping under, like, the basketball games, just, like, napping and, like, waiting for them to call my name. And
this is a great story.
There's so many, like... machines they just kept breaking down, or they're just like, people complain, the direction is it doesn't work. So like we can't tell if you're lying or whatever. So they, the technicians, I don't see anything wrong with it. They're like, no, keep testing it. And so one match could last for like an hour, right? And this is a 500-man double elimination tournament, bro. So I'm just here like literally at like 10 a.m. on the Monday morning, and just waiting to play, but then they're like, the cabinet keeps breaking down. But eventually we were able to finally get through the whole tournament, and I won that tournament. But man, it was just literally a 24-hour Mars Crackum 2 tournament. That was just crazy.
How much did you even win for that?
$2.
No, I think it was
grand?
like 400. No, it was like $450.
Oh man,
because it was $5 entry fee.
So here's a funny thing I have to make people like sort of realize is that what Justin's saying is essentially what people were playing for many years, right?
Yeah,
like a few $100 was like a good payout for a lot of these tournaments and events, and even like big things like Evo. You were. And I go back and I think of like the Evos that I went to when I first started going to Evo, which was like Third Strike was the biggest tournament, and there was like 300 people, and it was like, holy shit, this is like the biggest fighting game tournament ever type of shit. And it was like, oh, there's so many people here for Third Strike now. But then I started to think about it, and I'm like, man, minus like venue fees and everything like that, these guys are getting maybe like $1,500 to $2,000. Like that's it for like the World Championship. The overall prize pools for fighting game tournaments for
arguably like almost 25 years, were very small for a long time. And then
Like,
eventually,
compared
like,
to the amount of people that were.
yeah, well, it seemed like comparatively, like, this is just one thing to show, like, kind of how niche, like, fighting games technically are, and how many people, like, because it felt like everything to us, especially, like, me and Justin, like, when you're going to SRK or IRC and you're talking to these people and discussing all this stuff and how, like, focused and tight it actually was, because the prize pools were always ridiculously small. Even when Street Fighter 4 started happening, it got bigger, right? It definitely started to increase in size, but I mean, winning an Evo for Street Fighter 4, I don't think was outpaying 10 grand. You know, even
No, it was not.
even if Daigo was winning, it was not getting like even 5 grand, I think, even when it seemed to be at its biggest. It was only when like Capcom showed up and started offering big payouts for like the 25th anniversary tournament when that one first happened. And then other companies started following suit, and they started to actually put the prize pools in there. But to be like, has anyone ever won like $1 million from like a fighting game tournament? I don't think so. I don't think it's
Not
ever
one fighting game tournament, probably not.
Yeah, not like a tournament series or anything. Like, I don't think any specific, it has never gotten that big.
None that we know about, but maybe there's like these dark kumites that are
Yes.
underground that like you get to
In
win some
Dubai.
guy's house. Yeah, like a high rollers type thing, you know? Like that could exist, right?
I mean, there's a lot of those random tournaments, kind of like comic book store tournaments, where it's like $500 for first place, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then a lot of tournament players will keep it a secret,
Yes.
just because
Don't want the edition to show up.
Yeah, because
Right.
I absolutely did that.
Respect that.
So,
Respect
I mean,
that.
the one thing is that, and I wanted to echo this, the prize pools weren't crazy. Like, you weren't making a crazy amount of money. It was just fun because you were essentially like hustling, right? You were hustling your money you're making your money by playing video games, which was amazing, right? At any point, you were getting paid out. Whenever I won tournaments, like, I remember constantly being flabbergasted because I always, like, my goal was always to just play games in front of, like, an audience of people. That was always my personal passion with arcade games or DDR or anything, right? So when I won a tournament, this dude would come up and hand me, like, a wad, like, a crunched up, there's, like, dollar bills and there's change and shit, and he would just put it in my hand, and I'm just like,
What?
yeah, that's right. Like, oh, shit. But for a lot of people, like, this was their... for someone that wasn't a casual tournament goer like me, this was like their thing, right? So, Justin, I would love to hear your perspective on this. It wasn't about just making money from tournament winnings. It was about making money from where the money actually was. Money matches.
So because like we went to tournaments, it's like everywhere, right? And prizes usually each tournament for like if I won like Marvel 2 or Third Strike out of like a major, it would be like $300,
Which is nothing.
right?
Like, you just like that covers like your stay.
Yeah, pretty much. So then a lot of times we would just money match people because you would talk a lot of crap on SRK forums or IRC, and you would just set up money matches with like other players for like $20, $50. So ultimately, that's kind of where a lot of your money gets made. Like I remember going to Final Round, which is a big tournament in Atlanta, and the first time I went there, I had because I never played the South or the South never played me. I literally had those like Trapper Keeper notebooks. And I brought it with me, and then because I had all these names of like, okay, you want to play me in the first 20, blah 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 blah. It was literally like 50 lines worth. And then I would just turn for people like, hey, are you this person? Are you this
Put their
person?
money down.
Yeah, literally, I was like, are you this person?
Are you Toe Supper 69? I'm here to be here.
I'm here to get your money, kids.
Yeah, it was literally just a notebook and square. And I have a picture of it. But I forgot someone took it. But it was me sitting in like a car with my notebook, and I had a lot of this 20 spread out. And then I'm wearing like the most baggiest clothes, like a.
Is this an actual picture that was posted on SRK?
Yeah,
I've seen this picture. 100% I've seen this picture. You're like wearing the most mid 2000s-ish attire.
I'm pretty sure you could Google it, but it's just me have a smug look.
This looks like he came from Def Jam.
my God.
New York.
Just points to me like this list of people he's knocked off already. I mean, Goldberg over here.
Yeah, it really is a picture though for that.
That's amazing.
Oh wow.
I don't think Max has, but I wanted to know, like, you've done tournaments in Japan, maybe Europe?
Yeah, I've been to, I would say, like, my goal obviously for going to tournaments is not like Max said, it wasn't really for money. It was like Max wanted to play in front of people. Me, it was life experiences. Like, I wanted to travel around the world and then do tourist shit, after the tournament, before the tournament. So that was like my goal, is to create all these different memories and have my eyes see all these different sites that, probably a lot of people would never really get a chance to do just because it's so. So I went to tournaments in Australia, Southeast Asia, Asia in general, Japan, Korea, Europe, and South America as well too. So it was definitely pretty awesome to see kind of like the different type of cultures of FGC, because one, I would say in the Western area, we have tournaments down, like in terms of how to run a tournament. Even like, America does a really good job at that. But around the world, it's so like maybe 10 years behind of like how people would run tournaments in like America. But the community though, it's so tight. It's because they don't really win money, or they don't have a chance to win that much money, especially in South America scenes or some parts of Asia. They just do it because they love fighting games, right? And I think that's the beauty of it, that most people that do play fighting games are people that really do love just to play fighting games with other people.
And I think Dustin was at this tournament too, but these opportunities that you get to like go to places and you're like, man, we gotta take this. Like if you can take me, and like my requirement was like, you have to take me and my wife, right? And you have to pay for their accommodations and sometimes a friend. There's a little tournament that took place in 2000, I believe it was 13. Hallowed be thy name, but it was the legendary VXG. And this thing took place in St. Martin, right? So an island out in the middle of the ocean, in the Atlantic Ocean, and they covered the accommodations for a lot of people, and then also covered the accommodations for a lot of people. Just because I think you read this one, the last VXG.
So I had a terrible story for that one. Oh no! So say it didn't know. So I did. So I
Ooh, let me see if I can get some backup, man. Fuck. My shit fucking wrecked, bro. Yes. Some assistance. Man. Look at that guy. Maged out. Bruh. Are you rocking Rivers of Blood? Counters, rocking a double sword action. Ooh. My boy got Hand of Millennia. Okay, I see you, bro. Well, boys, oh, my boy is rocking the Scarlet Rot. Jesus. There we go. Alright, well, fuck that invader. Because, yeah, boss time. Oh, shit. Hit him with the rod. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Wow. That motherfucker's strong, bro. Hold up, bro. Get that blood flame blade going. Okay. Oh shit. Hold up, bro. It's about to get brazy. Okay. Oh shit. Oh my god. Woo. Oh my lord. Wow. Nigga. The disrespect. Holy shit. Bruh. That nigga disrespecting me, bro. He disrespected the shit out of me, man. Holy crap. Alright, let's get to work. Let's get to work. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. Oh my god. That nigga was. Whew. Okay, Malekith, you got my ass. You got my ass. Oh shit! Oh my god, my shield. Oh, there goes my shield. I'm hoping that lasts a little longer. runes. My runes, sir. Ah, shit. Using my goddamn potions. Alright, let's get to it. Stop running! Alright. Falcon! The black blood! Oh, Jesus. Oh my god. Bruh. Look how he moves around, dude. What the fuck? Oh, shit. Lord. He beat the homie. Oh my god. Wow. Wow. Yo, you're dead, bro. You're dead, bro. Oh. Holy shit. Um. All right. Okay. Yes. Yes, you did, my friend. Definitely forgot something. Oh yeah, that's right. I should have some seeds and stuff like that. I should try it. Oh. ugly ass looking armor. That looks pretty dope. Oh! Physical damage negation is useful. I can replace Dragon Boast Blessing with that. Capital Dash. Huh. It's like a shortcut. That's interesting. Nope. Can't use the horse. Oh! The whole shit has been changed. Wow, okay. Alright. Okay. Yes, sir, boy. Linda! Below the hush. Okay, well, we had a whole ass boss fight. I think we can take a break ski. Yeah, let's break for them. It's been real.